Hi, this is Vanessa Baker with McHenry County Voter. Today we're here with Bryan Javor, owner of Victor Geek, ReachFly, as well as GM partner in Liberty Outdoor Advertising. Thank you for joining us, Bryan.
You're welcome.
So, Bryan, you've been part of the local and national political landscape for some time. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your experiences?
Sure. So I got started when I was 25 years old. I want to say it was 2008. Obama was on his upswing in the primary, and I realized that I had been doing international treaty law and a variety of other things for telecommunications and working with other countries, and I couldn't have told you who my congressman, state rep, or county board member was. And at some point, I realized that that was a problem. And I was paying taxes, I was involved in all of the obligatory manners, but I wasn't involved in helping make those decisions or shape those choices. So I got a hold of Mike Tryon, and I said, who was our state rep at the time, and said, hey, I'd like to get involved. And he said, okay, meet me at my office, let's talk about it. Well, that was kind of a straight linear climb. From there it became a direct swing into the Young Republicans, which I ended up founding along with several other people. And 4 years later, when I left that, there was approximately 200 active members, about 800
Wow.
registered members.
Wow.
And then from there, I got tired of that because it's just the burnout factor is very high when you're organizing at that level. So I started doing campaigns, and I formed a partnership with the chairman of the Cook County Young Republicans, as well as the Lake County Young Republicans, which was a consultancy, and that did rather well. Although we don't have that consultancy anymore, we all still run political races, and we all are still friends, and we all are still clients and vendors to each other. And since then, I've run dozens upon dozens of races.
Wow, that's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
That's really neat.
It's fun.
Thank you. So, I know that a lot of local political candidates use your marketing tools. Can you tell us kind of what they work with?
Sure. So there are so many tools on the market, whether it's an email system to send out emails to people, or a telephone system to call people. But there's the necessity to use tools that aren't as commonly known about, that take the ability for one person to reach out with a message and touch several people all at once. Because finances are very tight in campaigns, and frankly, these days, so are the ability to have lots of volunteers. You need to work smarter, not harder. So what I've done is design systems which allow one person to communicate via telephone-type systems with various people at once. So we have a proprietary system that allows people to send out a robocall to people, which is something that people are very familiar with, but we do it in ways that are very new. We can merge in names, so rather than just saying, hello voter, please vote for me in the primary, it can be, hello Bryan, vote in the primary, and it's seamless. So that's a new technology. Another technology is the ability to send various robocalls out and have a giant conference with voters as well as the actual candidate themselves or the elected official themselves, and be able to engage in a giant conversation where a voter can press a button and figuratively raise their hand and then be ushered to the floor and be live with the congressman or whomever it is, and they can have a small conversation, and then another voter can come in, and all of the other voters are listening to this. So it really is a collaborative way for voters to learn about their elected officials, as well as the elected officials to learn about the voters.
Would you say it's like an electronic town hall of some sort?
Yeah, we actually call it a telephone town hall, which
town.
is exactly what it is.
Terrific.
Yeah.
That's great. Plus, I know that a lot of local candidates purchase your billboards as well as yard signs.
Exactly.
Certainly.
144 billboards in and around McHenry County, and what we've begun to do is go past the typical, taking an ad and throwing it up on a board and going, well, I hope that works. And we've actually gotten into A/B testing. We've gotten into doing extensions, so the ads actually pop off of the billboard instead of just being a two-dimensional ad that people are used to seeing. We've started doing things like taking, when there's one board above and one board below, and wrapping both boards together to make them larger, so that we can have a better message on it that grabs from farther away. So yeah, it's all about innovation.
Absolutely. And I know locally, Liberty Outdoor Advertising has been part of the local political landscape for some time.
Since the year before I was born.
Well, that's terrific.
Shows my young age.
Definitely.
My partner in Liberty Outdoor Advertising, at least there's two partners, but the most active one of the two is Jack Schaefer. And he really isn't just my partner, he's kind of been a mentor for me all throughout the years. I met him in 2008. I knew that he had been a senator, but I had no idea the extent that he was involved politically. And he is quite legitimately the most honest guy I've ever met. He's got the most integrity of anybody I've ever met, which is very, very strange when you think about the fact that he was an elected official, because when we think about in today's market elected officials, it's unfortunate, but negative thoughts come to mind. Corruption and all of that thing, especially being in the Chicago area. And that is not him, so it's been very helpful to have his advice throughout the years.
Yeah, definitely. And that's part of why I created McHenry County Voter, is to get to know the good people in our community. What issues do you think are most important to McHenry County going on right now?
That's an interesting dynamic, because I think it's twofold. I think with any community, whether it be a state, a country, a county, a city, the most important thing is that the voters are represented. But that can be a tricky issue. For instance, we recently had the switch from the county chairman being elected, or at least we're about to go through the switch, where they were appointed, the county chairman was appointed by the other county board members, kind of like the Speaker of the House, rather than at popular vote. Well, coming up, we're going to have our first election where the voters actually make the choice of who their chairman is. And I see both sides of that. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes, but I think that's a perfect example of the representation issues. There were some people that thought that it was a better idea for the people whom are the most educated and know the issues the best, the county board members, to be the ones appointing that county chairman. Where there were others who thought, I would rather have the burden of potentially making the wrong choice as a voter, but have the control rest in my hands for whom that chairman becomes. I don't necessarily have an opinion on it, but I think it's an interesting issue. The other thing is that, and this is just unfortunately kind of an issue that involves being in the state of Illinois, is that the county continued to be fiscally stable as well as sustainable. We have traditionally had, thanks to a variety of good elected officials at the county level, a AAA bond rating. That's huge. Another issue is, at one point, and I don't think this is correct anymore, but McHenry County was the fastest growing county in Illinois. Now, I don't believe that's the case anymore, and probably largely because of some of the issues that we've gone through on a budgetary issue with the state and the governor's race and everything else. But that is also incredibly important, because if we begin to mimic the policies of Cook County, we can expect that we're going to see some of the same unfortunate side effects that Cook County has. So I think that fiscal conservatism is probably the most important thing, immediately followed by policies that allow us to sustain ourselves.
Thank you very much. That's very well thought out. What words of wisdom do you have for local political candidates?
If I were to go back to the very beginning of when I was doing this, and with every candidate that I've seen, I would say the most important thing you can do, and these are actually words from both, paraphrased from Mike Tryon and from Jack Schaefer: listen. Just get informed, get educated, keep your powder dry, don't go shooting off with your opinions, and watch what the existing people are doing. If you don't like what those people are doing, then listen to somebody else. But get informed before you start making movements, because once you start making movements and once you start doing things, you can't take those things back. And you want to make sure that you are well informed on something before you start shooting your mouth off and before you start taking actions. So if you want to run for office and you want to run for city council, go to every single meeting. And don't just go to 3 or 6 before you run. Go to a year, go to 2 years. Understand what the entity is facing before you decide to be of service. Because if you don't understand the issues, you're probably not going to be doing a service.
That is wise words from Bryan Javor. Thank you. Thank you. So what recent projects are you really proud of? Is there anything you'd like to highlight for us?
Oh, so many things that I'm working on. Okay, so you guys are probably aware that there is a certain amount of law involved in telecommunications. So I can't send an unsolicited message like an SMS or a text message to your cell phone without getting your explicit prior permission. I'm trying to come up with a new way to combine the internet, email, and SMS together in a way that allows candidates and nonprofits and government entities to contact you regarding important activities or events or notifications in a way which is robust, which still allows you to get a video or a message or a picture, but also it does it in a way which is still integral and legal. And you know, we live in a society where we constantly have new ways to communicate with people, and the government is playing catch up constantly on trying to regulate those things. So unfortunately, the good people who don't abuse those things, like myself, who use do not call lists, who tell our clients, look, you have to say who it's paid for by, you have to provide an opt-out method, you have to take those do not call lists with you anywhere you go. There's only so much that can be done because these people ultimately have the right to control all their own messaging. So we're trying to provide a system that kind of combines video, SMS, and email all together in one package, and that is going to be tricky, but we expect that towards the end of 2016 that product will be in beta. So that's what I've been working on.
Well, that sounds very promising. I look forward to hearing more about that.
I would add one more thing, since
please.
you introduced the billboards in earlier. We are looking as if we're going to have our first 2 double-sided digital billboards in the ground by the end of 2016, which is huge because since 1982 this has been a business which has been solely run by Jack Schaefer and his employees, and they've all been traditional billboards. So either paper has gone up over them or vinyl has gone up over them, which means it's a static message. It can't change. That board can only serve one client at a time for as long as that adds up. With the digitals, you can service roughly 6 to 8 clients per board per month, which is a significant improvement in areas where there is only 1 or 2 billboards. Now you have multiple clients, multiple government entities that can all be serviced by that at the same time, which is something new to McHenry County as well as new to us.
Terrific. And I've heard about these electronic billboards that it can be very easy to change creative to include the weather, for example, or what's happening in the moment.
Right. Amber alerts, boil orders, construction, all kinds of things.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you. So, what local community organizations would you like to highlight? Are you involved with any community organizations?
I am. In fact, Nick Ketcherubis got me involved a number of years ago now in the America's Cardboard Cup Regatta. And I didn't know anything about the organization except that it was a lot of fun to go there, take a grill, take some beer, have a good time, and race cardboard boats until they sank, and then everyone would laugh. And I thought that was awesome. And then one year I was kind of tired of building boats because it takes months to build these things, and you get 15 to 20 minutes of fame, and then it's into the dumpster pile. And Nick said, hey, you know, why don't you get involved in the actual organization? And so I came to the first meeting, had a pretty good idea how much work it was going to be, and I believe it's been 3 or 4 years since I got involved on an administrative level. And this year I was chosen as the president, which is both humbling and a little daunting. It's a shocking amount of work, and looking at how much Nick did for the over 10 years that he was a part of the organization and as a president. I really have a new respect for the amount of work that goes into an organization like this, because it's not just the building boats and the organizing the bands and the organizing the beach staff and everything like that, and all the volunteers that come with it. It's the fact that the point of the organization is to raise as much money as possible to give out to local organizations like Home of the Sparrow and PADS and Pioneer Center, and and there are so many other groups that we give to, but a lot of these organizations rely on sources like us for their funding. And there wouldn't be a place for the developmentally disabled, the battered women and children, the homeless, the things like that to go. So that's an organization that I have a very deep appreciation for, because I came up organically through it. And now, after kind of going through the full spectrum of it, I have a whole new respect for organizations like ours that do those sorts of things and raise that money for people who need it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll put a link to Cardboard Cup Regatta in this article that will be posted from the transcription.
Thank you.
Thank you. A little bit more about yourself. What do you like to do over the weekend, Bryan?
I like to stay away from cell phones and technology and politics. No joke. My favorite things to do are backpacking, be outside, camping, backpacking, survival, hunting, fishing, canoeing, boating. Anything that gets me out into nature is great. I just it's the only thing that can kind of heal you. When you're in politics, it's heart palpitating. It's very stressful. There's so much going on. It's overwhelming, and nature is a way to cleanse. You just, you take the cell phone with you in case there's an emergency, but generally you turn it off or on silent, and you just go. And that's what I love to do. And as part of that, of course, is shooting competitively, whether that be shotgun or pistol or rifle. But primarily it's just anything outside.
Wow, that's neat. And it makes sense for stress relief. Certainly.
So when I was coming into the Young Republicans in 2008, I had a convention, a nomination convention for who was going to be chair, and there were several of us that had been nominated, and we're all trying to put on our best faces. We're all trying to be really perfect, to give the perfect speech, and we're all nervous because we've never done anything like this, and most of the people that are in the party, we don't really know that well yet, and we're intimidated. These are all elected officials, and we're trying to impress them, and so I show up, and I've got my sport coat on like I do now, and everybody's giving their nomination speeches, and my wife at this point, of course, is next to me, and I'm getting nervous and I'm getting hot, so I take my sport coat off. And right as I take my sport coat off, I'm given the mic to stand up to speak. And fortunately, my back was to the wall like it is now. But I got all done with my speech, and I sat down, and my wife reaches over and she pulls a sock off the back of my shirt. I had given the whole speech with a sock on the back, and I'm not talking like a black dress sock on a black shirt. I'm talking like a white sock on the back of a dress shirt. And so if I had been anywhere except that wall, it could have been just hilariously humiliating. But that was a nice humbling day for me, and it just reminds you not to take things too seriously.
No, thank you. That's a good story. Thank you very much. So, thank you, Bryan, for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come and speak with us. Again, I'm Vanessa Baker with McHenry County Voter. Our resources dedicated to my neighbors here in McHenry County and the good people that serve them. Thanks.
Thank you, Vanessa.